Xerox, a proud alien pilot from the advanced planet Xylar, loved to travel across the galaxy. His ship was sleek, fast, and filled with alien technology that few species could even understand. It was built by the best engineers of his world, and he always believed it was perfect. To him, no other species could ever improve such a masterpiece. One quiet evening, while exploring the edge of a small solar system, Xerox spotted a blue and green planet. Its surface was full of water and land, and he detected many signs of life. His scanners told him this planet was called Earth. He had heard of humans before, an energetic but primitive species compared to his people. Curious, Xerox decided to land his ship and study them up close. He chose a quiet open field away from the big cities. As his ship lowered, bright lights lit up the grass and a soft hum filled the air. On the ground, a young human engineer named Ethan was working on an old car engine. Ethan loved machines more than anything. He had no great riches, no special powers, but he had a clever mind and hands that never stopped building. The ground shook slightly as Xerox's ship touched down. Ethan's eyes widened in shock. "What in the world?" he whispered. The ship looked like nothing he had ever seen, smooth, metallic, and glowing faintly. The door opened, and Xerox stepped out. He was tall, with silver-blue skin and bright, golden eyes. He looked around, curious, and then noticed Ethan staring. "Human?" Xerox asked in a deep, clear voice. Ethan froze for a second. Yeah. And you're an alien?" Xerox smiled slightly. "Indeed. I am Xerox of Xylar. I study other worlds. I did not expect to meet a human so soon." Ethan slowly relaxed. He was more amazed than afraid. "Your ship. It's incredible. Is it yours?" Xerox nodded proudly. "Yes. The finest craft in the galaxy. Built with technology far beyond your understanding. It is perfect in every way." Ethan, however, had a habit of noticing details. Even from where he stood, he could see parts of the ship that looked overcomplicated. Pipes and panels ran across it in strange ways. "Perfect, huh?" he said with a small grin. "I'm not so sure about that." Xerox tilted his head, surprised. "What do you mean? No human could possibly improve my ship." Ethan stepped closer, curiosity lighting up his face. "Maybe, but machines are machines. Sometimes even the smartest designers make things harder than they need to be. I bet I could make it faster, maybe even more efficient." Xerox laughed softly. To him, the idea was ridiculous. "You? A human? Improve this?" He gestured toward the shining ship. "Impossible," Ethan shrugged. "If you're so sure, why not let me take a look? What's the harm?" Xerox hesitated. No one had ever questioned his ship before. He was proud, yet also intrigued by this human's confidence. "Very well," Xerox finally said. "Show me what you can do. But do not be disappointed when you fail." Ethan smiled. "Deal." Yas, Alien opened the ramp, and Ethan stepped inside for the first time. The interior was breathtaking, smooth walls that glowed softly, floating screens, and controls made of strange crystals. But Ethan quickly noticed the controls looked unnecessarily complex, full of extra steps for even simple tasks. "You really fly this thing like this?" Ethan asked, half amused. "Of course," Xerox replied. "It is the proper way." "Proper," Ethan muttered. "Or just outdated." Xerox frowned but let the human explore. Ethan knelt by a panel, examining the wiring. "This system sends power through 3 different converters before reaching the engines. Why not just one?" "That is how it was designed," Xerox said, confused. Ethan chuckled. "That's why it feels slow. Give me some tools and I'll show you." Xerox crossed his arms. "Humans and their strange ideas." Still, he provided a toolkit from his ship's storage. Ethan worked quickly, adjusting circuits and rerouting power lines. His hands moved with skill, and he explained as he went. See, you're losing half the energy in unnecessary transfers. Direct power flow, less delay, more thrust. Zirak watched, his pride slowly shifting to curiosity. The human was making changes that seemed simple, yet logical. After an hour, Ethan stepped back. All right, try starting it now. Zirak powered, up the ship. To his surprise, the hum was deeper, smoother. The readings on his display showed faster response time. His golden eyes widened. It improved? Ethan grinned. Told you. And that's just the beginning. For the first time in his life, Zirak wondered if maybe humans were not as primitive as he thought. And as the night sky stretched above them, he realized this encounter was going to be far more interesting than he had ever expected. Zirak stood inside his ship, still amazed at what had just happened. A simple human had improved his perfect alien craft in less than an hour. He looked at Ethan, who was now studying the control panel like a curious child exploring a new toy. You really changed something, Zirak admitted, his voice calm but thoughtful. I felt the difference when I powered it on. Ethan smiled. Machines aren't just about being advanced. They need to be practical, too. Sometimes the simplest fix works better than a fancy one. Zirak crossed his arms. On my world, engineers spend years designing these ships, yet you changed it in a few minutes. Because you guys think too much, Ethan said with a grin. You follow rules. I just try things until they work better. Zirak tilted his head. Strange way to design, but maybe effective. Ethan's eyes scanned the cockpit. You know, your controls are too complicated. You have to move 3 levers and press 2 crystals just to change speed. That's fine for a trained pilot, but it slows you down. Zirak raised a brow. This is the proper way. It keeps everything in order. Or, Ethan said as he sat in the pilot seat, you could just have 1 throttle and 1 set of buttons. Less to think about, more to fly. Before Zirak could protest, Ethan opened the panel under the console. He carefully adjusted the wiring, rerouting connections and combining controls into a simpler layout. His hands moved quickly but carefully, as if he had done this all his life. Zirak watched silently. Part of him wanted to stop the human. This was his ship, after all. But another part was too curious to see what Ethan would do next. After half an hour, Ethan leaned back. Try it now. You'll see how much smoother it feels. Zirak sat in the pilot seat, gripping the new single throttle. He powered up the engines. The controls responded instantly. No delay, no extra steps. He carefully increased thrust, and the ship hovered with perfect stability. His golden eyes widened. It works. It feels easier. Exactly, Ethan said proudly. Sometimes, less is more. Zirak looked at him, still in disbelief. Humans. You think differently. You don't follow strict rules. Not always, Ethan replied. We like experimenting. Sometimes it fails, but sometimes we create something amazing. Zirak stepped away from the seat, his pride slowly turning into admiration. What else would you change? Ethan's grin grew wider. Oh, a lot. Your boosters? They're powerful, but their angle is fixed. If we add flexible mounts, you could turn sharper and faster. And these seats? They're stiff. You need better support if you're going to fly for long hours. Seats? Zirak repeated, almost laughing. Why would seats matter? Because comfort matters. If you're tired or sore, you can't focus. Humans design things to feel good to use. Zirak thought for a moment. His people always valued function over comfort. But maybe the human was right. Ethan started working again. He added extra padding to the seat using some material from his workshop nearby. Then, with Zirak's help, he modified the boosters so they could shift slightly during flight. By the time they finished, the ship looked slightly different. Still alien, but with small human touches that made it feel more practical. Ready, To see how it flies now? Ethan asked. Zirak nodded slowly. Yes, but you will not break my ship, human. Ethan laughed. Trust me, you'll thank me later. They powered up the engines. The hum was deeper and steadier than before. Zirak could feel it. The ship felt alive, more responsive than ever. Ethan grabbed the controls. All right, let's take her up. Wait, you are going to fly it? Zirak asked, surprised. Why not? You'll see how humans handle machines, Ethan said confidently. Zirak hesitated but stepped aside. The ship lifted off the ground, rising smoothly into the night sky. The stars grew brighter as they climbed higher, leaving Earth's surface far below. Ethan tested the new boosters. The ship turned faster, banking sharply without losing balance. Zirak held on to the seat, his golden eyes wide. This is different, Zirak said, a mix of shock and excitement in his voice. Better, right? Ethan grinned as he pushed the throttle forward. The ship shot through the clouds, faster than it ever had before. Zirak felt a rush of thrill he had never experienced, like riding a storm at the speed of light. This is incredible, Zirak finally shouted. Ethan just smiled. Told you. You've got the tech, we've got the creativity. Together we can make something amazing. For the first time in his life, Zirak didn't feel like the smartest one in the room. And strangely, he didn't mind at all. The ship soared through the night sky, smooth and powerful. Ethan sat in the pilot's seat, one hand on the throttle, his eyes glowing with excitement. Beside him, Zirak held onto the armrest, feeling sensations he had never experienced in all. His years of flying. This is unreal, Zirak muttered as the stars blurred past the cockpit window. My ship has never moved like this, Ethan grinned. That's because you guys never thought of flying like this. You treat your ship like a machine. I treat it like a part of me. Zirak looked at the human in awe. Ethan didn't seem nervous at all. Every movement was natural, every decision quick and confident. The alien pilot had always relied on strict procedures, but Ethan flew with instinct, as if he and the ship were connected. Ethan eased the throttle forward. The boosters roared softly, pushing the ship faster and higher. It cut through the thin clouds like a blade, leaving glowing trails in the sky. Hold on tight, Ethan said with a smirk. Before Zirak could ask why, Ethan twisted the controls sharply to the left. The ship spun gracefully, looping in a perfect circle before leveling out. Zirak gasped, his golden eyes wide. No one flies like this, Zirak exclaimed. That's the point, Ethan replied. You've got the tech, but you've been using it the same boring way for centuries. You just need to think outside the box. Zirak shook his head, still shocked. If my instructors saw this, they would call it madness. And yet, Ethan said, pulling the ship into a steep climb, it works perfectly. The stars grew brighter as they left Earth's atmosphere. The ship moved faster than Zirak ever believed possible. Every adjustment Ethan made to the controls was precise, smooth, and fearless. Zirak glanced at the display screens. The energy readings were efficient, the power flow stable, and the boosters cooler than usual. The human modifications weren't just working, they were making the ship better. Ethan tapped the controls, engaging the new flexible booster mounts. The ship tilted sharply and darted to the side like a bird changing direction in mid-air. Zirak's jaw almost dropped. That should be impossible. Not if you stop limiting yourself, Ethan said proudly. Machines don't care about tradition. They care about what works. The ship danced through space, weaving between floating debris and chunks of rock. Each turn felt natural, each movement smooth. Zirak's heart raced. He had flown his whole life, but this was the first time he felt true freedom. All right, Ethan said, a playful grin on his face. Time to really push it. Push it? Zirak asked nervously. Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he pulled back on the throttle and then slammed it forward. The boosters flared brilliantly, and the ship shot forward like a comet. Zarak was pressed back into his seat, his eyes wide with shock. The stars turned into long streaks of light as they reached speeds the ship had never achieved before. "This is insane!" Zarak shouted, but there was excitement in his voice. "This," Ethan said, "is flying!" They looped through space, spinning and twisting with impossible agility. Every second felt alive, every motion a thrill. Zarak found himself laughing, something he rarely did. "I cannot believe this," Zarak said between laughs. "This is the greatest flight of my life," Ethan smirked. "Told you I'd give you the ride of your life." After several minutes of wild maneuvers, Ethan finally slowed the ship, bringing it to a smooth hover above Earth's atmosphere. The planet below glowed softly in the darkness of space, its blue oceans and white clouds shining in the sunlight. Zarak sat back, breathing heavily but smiling. "Human, you are unlike any pilot I have ever seen. You fly as if the ship is alive." "Because it is," Ethan said softly. "Machines are only as good as the people using them. Treat them right and they'll give you more than you expect." Zarak looked at him thoughtfully. All his life, he had believed technology was only about strict design and perfect systems. But this human had just shown him that creativity could unlock more power than any rulebook. "You have changed my view of humans," Zarak admitted. "I thought your kind was primitive, but now I see you are far more than that." Ethan shrugged with a grin. "We're full of surprises." As they prepared to head back down, Zarak couldn't help but feel that this was only the beginning. If one human could improve his ship this much, what else could humanity bring to the galaxy? The alien pilot smiled to himself. The universe was about to become far more interesting. The ship hovered above Earth's atmosphere, its engines glowing softly as Ethan guided it with ease. Zarak sat quietly, still amazed by everything he had just experienced. For the first time in his life, he felt true excitement while flying. Suddenly, one of the control panels lit up, flashing a bright red signal. A loud alarm echoed inside the cockpit. Zarak's eyes widened. "That is a distress signal. Someone is in danger." Ethan quickly checked the display. "It's coming from a nearby system. Another ship is caught in a gravity well near a planet." Zarak's voice grew tense. "That is very dangerous. Gravity wells can trap ships until they are destroyed. No normal pilot can escape from one." Ethan looked at him, determination in his eyes. "Good thing we're not normal pilots." "You cannot be serious," Zarak said, standing up. "The gravity pull will tear us apart if we get too close. We should wait for rescue ships." Ethan shook his head. "By the time they arrive, it might be too late. We have the power. We have the speed. We can do this." Zarak hesitated. Every part of his training told him this was foolish. But then he remembered how Ethan had already improved his ship in ways he never thought possible. Slowly, he sat back down. "Very well, human," Zarak said. "Let us try." Ethan pushed the throttle forward, and the ship shot through space. The stars blurred past as they sped toward the source of the signal. Within minutes, they reached the edge of the planet's gravity well. Ahead of them, a smaller alien ship spun out of control, trapped in the planet's pull. Sparks flew from its engines, and desperate voices echoed through the comms. "Please, anyone! Our engines are failing!" cried the alien captain. "Hang on," Ethan said calmly through the comm. "We're coming to get you out." Zarak swallowed, nervously. "Ethan, if you make one mistake, we could be pulled in as well." "Then I won't make one," Ethan replied with confidence. He gripped the controls tightly, eyes focused. The ship dipped sharply, entering the edge of the gravity field. The pull was strong, dragging them down toward the planet. "Engines to maximum!" Ethan shouted. The boosters roared, their flexible mounts adjusting rapidly to counter the pull. The ship shook violently, but Ethan's hands were steady. "Your idea with the booster mounts? Brilliant," Ethan said with a quick smile. "Now let's see how far we can push them." Using short bursts of thrust, Ethan weaved through the pull, staying just above the critical point where escape would be impossible. Zirak watched in shock. No alien pilot could react this fast. "You are predicting the gravity shifts before they happen." "That's what humans do best," Ethan said through clenched teeth. "We adapt." Finally, they reached the stranded ship. Its crew stared in disbelief as the modified alien craft held steady in the deadly gravity field. "Locking tractor beam," Zarak shouted, activating the system. A bright blue beam extended from their ship, gripping the damaged vessel. "Got them," Zirak said, relief in his voice. "Not yet," Ethan said. "Now comes the hard part." With the tractor beam engaged, the ship became heavier, the pull of gravity doubling. Warning alarms blared as the engines strained against the force. "Ethan, we are at maximum power," Zarak shouted. "Then we go past maximum," Ethan replied, pushing the throttle even further. "Come on, baby, hold together." The ship trembled violently, lights flickering as the engines roared like never before. Slowly, painfully, they began to climb out of the gravity well. "Almost there," Ethan shouted. The boosters adjusted rapidly, shifting angles to fight the drag. Inch by inch, they rose higher, until finally, boom! The ship burst free from the gravity pull, soaring into open space. The rescued vessel floated safely behind them, still locked in the tractor beam. The aliens on the other ship cheered over the comms. "You saved us! Thank you! How did you do that?" Zirak looked at Ethan with pure admiration. "It was him," Zirak said proudly. "A human." The rescued aliens were stunned. "A human? Impossible!" Ethan chuckled. "Guess you'll have to change what you think is impossible." They released the tractor beam, letting the rescued ship stabilize on its own. The alien crew thanked them again and again, promising to tell everyone about the incredible rescue. As they flew away, Zirak looked at Ethan with a new kind of respect. "I doubted you. I doubted humans. But today, you have shown me that your kind has something my people never understood." Ethan leaned back in the seat, smiling. "Sometimes the best solutions aren't in the manuals. You just have to try," Zirak nodded slowly. For the first time, he truly understood that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology, but their creativity and courage. And deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The stars stretched endlessly around them as Ethan guided the ship back toward safer space. Zirak sat in the co-pilot seat, still in awe of what had just happened. They had done something no alien pilot would have dared attempt, and survived. The rescued cruise ship followed close behind, its captain still sending messages of gratitude. "We owe you our lives," the alien captain said over the comm. "Your flying, it was unlike anything we've seen." Ethan smiled modestly. "Just glad we got to you in time." Zirak, however, felt a deep sense of pride. "It was not me," he said to the other captain. "It was the human. He modified my ship. He flew it, and he saved you." There was silence for a moment. Then the alien captain replied, almost disbelieving, "A human did all that?" "Yes," Zarak said firmly, "and he has shown me that humans are far more capable than we have ever given them credit for." Word of the rescue spread quickly. By the time Zirak and Ethan returned to the Xylarian spaceport, dozens of alien engineers and pilots were already waiting. They had heard stories of the impossible maneuver, the daring rescue, and the mysterious human who made an alien ship better than ever. As they stepped out of the ship, curious voices filled the air. "That is the human? He modified an alien craft?" "They say he flew faster than any pilot alive." Ethan scratched the back of his neck, feeling slightly shy under all the attention. Hi." One of the senior alien engineers stepped forward. Human, is it true you improved this ship with your ideas? Ethan glanced at Zirak, who nodded proudly. Yeah, Ethan said. Your ships are amazing, but sometimes simple changes can make them even better. The aliens exchanged surprised looks. Their kind had always relied on strict designs, perfected over centuries. The idea that a human, a species they had barely noticed before, could improve their greatest machines was shocking. Zirak stepped forward. My people believed our technology was perfect. But today I learned perfection is not about rules or tradition. It is about thinking differently. And humans think differently. Some of the engineers began asking Ethan questions. How did you modify the power flow? What is the purpose of flexible booster mounts? Why simplify the controls? Ethan explained everything patiently. He spoke in simple terms, showing them that the changes were not about advanced knowledge, but about creativity and practicality. The aliens listened closely, realizing that they had been blind to new ideas for too long. One of the younger engineers finally said, "Perhaps we have much to learn from humans." Zirak smiled. Yes, I used to see humans as primitive, but now I see that they are resourceful, brave, and endlessly inventive. In the hands of a human, even the best ship can become better. Later that night, Zirak and Ethan sat on a quiet balcony overlooking the alien city. Bright towers glowed softly, and flying crafts moved gracefully through the sky. You know, Ethan said with a small grin, I didn't expect any of this when I first saw your ship. I just thought it looked like it needed some upgrades. Zirak chuckled softly. And I never expected to meet a human who would change the way I see the galaxy. Ethan leaned back in his chair. So what now? You gonna take your ship back to how it was? Never, Zirak said firmly. In fact, I was hoping you would become my partner. Together, we could improve ships all over the galaxy. You bring the creativity, and I bring the technology. Ethan raised his eyebrows. A partnership between a human and an alien? That's pretty cool. Zirak extended his hand in the human way he had learned. Partners, then? Ethan shook, his hand with a smile. Partners. Weeks later, the news of their success had spread to many worlds. More aliens came to meet the human who thought differently, who treated machines not as sacred objects, but as tools to be improved. Soon, Ethan began working with teams of alien engineers, teaching them to experiment, to try new ideas, and to see technology in new ways. Zirak often stood proudly by his side, telling anyone who asked how one human had given him the ride of his life and changed his view of the galaxy forever. On one clear night, as they prepared for another adventure, Zirak looked at Ethan and said, You humans, you are full of surprises. With you on our side, the galaxy will never be the same again. Ethan grinned, starting up the ship's engines. Good! Let's make it even better. The ship roared to life, faster and smoother than ever, and together they blasted off into the stars. Two unlikely friends, ready to change the universe one invention at a time.